establish a bilateral treaty. This is very much like Switzerland, where they are still part of the EU, but they have various provisions, so they still have control of their borders. We want to strengthen the borders. We can't do this by still being in the EU. And we want to do this because 20% last year of net immigration from the EU was to England. Last year, there were 700,000 new jobs created, and 230,000 were taken by immigrants to come to this country. And these jobs should be available to people in our country. We want to increase foreign aid by 3%, which is approximately £100 million. After seeing a lot of the catastrophes in all the other countries around, especially the Middle East, we feel that it would be a crime not to help them out and send more money over and help. We want to reinvest in planting trees, as the CO2 count is increasing by about 1 billion cubic inches per day. We also want to give grants to businesses who are going to be setting up businesses in brownfield sites. These are sites that have already been established by businesses but are now not being used, and so it will save green lands and it will be a lot better for the environment. We also want to have a regeneration program for quarries that are not in use and make them into residential areas with lakes and parks to make it nicer for the residents nearby.
We're going to give people a year to find jobs and give them a jobless benefit if they don't find it in a year. And only give them a year to try and motivate people to find themselves a job and not just rely on the benefits. And then the money we save from the benefits will go into making more jobs. We're going to try and raise the minimum wage from the money we save from the benefits, and then raise that, and then they can live on their own wages instead of having to rely on food banks.
I want to make sure that the education of young people rises so that skills can be used in later life to provide jobs and therefore money so they can be first-time buyers with affordable housing. We believe that even though we are part of the EU at the moment, they are holding Britain back from reaching its full potential. We believe that if we leave the EU, we'll be able to thrive more as a country. We believe that immigrants are taking the jobs from working British people that they need to afford the housing they want. So we want to make sure that immigration stops so that the British people can afford the houses they want. We want to aid other countries, but not so much that we lose money. So, for example, the earthquake that has happened recently, we believe that the environment is a very important thing, and we want to make sure that every torn down area that has been left as a barren wasteland is turned into either more forests or a garden. With the money that is raised by the government, we will make sure that more job centres are set up and that it is easier to apply for jobs. So therefore, young people can get into the interviews and apply for the jobs that they need to earn money that they want to spend on houses, rent or food.
We plan to keep the interest rate low and to keep the corporation tax very low as well, to make more businesses that want to invest in our country and thrive. We were going to increase minimum wage to the living wage, so that people can afford to live, and lower food prices so that they don't have to rely on food banks and can afford their own food.
My number one priority is to make sure women's rights are much fairer than they seem. For example, if you look at the Oscars, you had that brilliant speech explaining why women should get paid more. This is a brilliant idea, because some men are completely disrespectful of women, and this needs to change. European Union, I think this is a brilliant idea, because we can get help and we can help other people. This is what we need. This is what we need to make sure it's stable. If this goes out of control, we lose everything, no matter what any other party says. This is true. I'm not putting a facade on you, I'm telling you what's true. EU helps us. We're helping the poor, and we have got help back. Immigration. I understand how people want to move to our country. Fair enough. However, there needs to be slightly harsher rules to getting in. For example, I know that they can bring skills. I know that they can be vital. However, if they don't have any education, how are they going to help other countries? If they can get a little bit of education in here, then they can progress their country a lot more than they can. We need money. This is what keeps the world going around, is money. You need money everywhere, so we still need it. Environment. Now, this is a big thing. We need to halve our carbon footprint considerably, because think about it. If we pollute the earth, we're going to get more global warming. If we get more global warming, the world is going to heat up and end up, well, it could explode in another 100 years. We don't know, we can't tell. Scientists have proven it, however, we can change it. If we use energy efficient stuff, for example, water energy, brilliant one for if you're living in urban areas. For example, if you're in London, you can use the River Thames. You can also use wind farms, another brilliant one if you're in rural areas or by the sea. You can't get a job, you need GCSEs, or A-levels, or degrees, however you want to put it. You need education. If you don't get an education, you can't get a job. That's what we need to improve. We can improve education. For money, and for example houses, we need to make more houses. Rural areas such as Devon, for example, their houses are quite cheap. However, we could get it a little bit cheaper, just a tiny bit. Even though it's in the countryside, there are still many jobs that you could undertake. For example, farming. Okay, it's not everyone's cup of tea, maybe an Essex person wouldn't really want to go around there. But that's not my point. My point is that if we get cheaper houses, we can show people what other jobs there are. NHS, well, I think we need more doctors and more midwives and nurses, because if we get young adults to be more encouraged by their, well, education of doctoring, more people want to do it. At the moment, most people will sit in school, see something about, I don't know, biology and go, oh no, it's one of those lessons and it's the worst thing you've had. But if we can get more people enjoyed in this, then it's going to be much easier to get doctors.
Well, I'll increase the taxes for a temporary time until when the economy is in a better state, then I'll lower the taxes. Well, I'll make more apprenticeships and jobs to fit with the current situation.
Our first priority is to reduce the CO2 emissions by 70%, so we have a future which isn't polluted, and for our children. What we'd like to introduce is more sustainable communities such as BZ and more offshore wind turbines, and also we're going to create the infrastructure for hydrogen cars and subsidised cars so that more people use them. We have a firm position in the European Union. We'd like to negotiate a new policy which allows more business interaction, and so we don't have to pay as much towards the situation in Greece and things like that. Immigration, we would also like to change our policies on that, so we are going to introduce a £5,000 deposit for coming into Britain, so that you actually have to make a decision. You can't come in and out and go through. Also, you have to have useful skills we actually need, not skills that could be fulfilled by other British people.
So you have.
We're going to try and teach people more useful skills. So we're going to teach them staying up to GCSE, and then from A-levels onwards, we're going to teach them more into the industry and skills they'll be using in later life. So university might not exist in 10 years' time, let's say, because we won't be spending as much money because people are going to jobs sooner rather than later.
We're going to raise taxes to 35% of the annual salary per person, and we will double road tax on large CO2 emitting vehicles.
Alright, well, our first priority for the United Kingdom is to keep a stable nation with a stable economy. You see, we want to reaffirm that position within the EU, so we pay less money to the European Central Bank. Okay, this means that we get more money, but we still get a lower trade costs that being in the EU allows us to get. Our basic view on immigration is they can come, but they must work to be able to claim benefits. Okay? So, for example, one of our policies states that you can come to this country, but you must be working for at least 2 years in a 5-year period to be able to claim benefits. Britain, we think, should keep not a faraway view, but I think intervene only if absolutely necessary to ensure the stability of our region, because we don't want to mess it up really badly by going into like a huge war, because that's really bad for the economy. We have several policies on mandate that are related to protecting the environment. One of these, as I will shortly explain, is to do with offshore wind turbines. We aim to increase offshore wind turbines to 50% of the national electricity generation. We also aim to increase wind power to 10% and implement Boris bikes nationally. One of our policies is to introduce apprenticeships in all industries, especially technology. Okay, this means that people, even if they don't get great qualifications, they can still learn how to get a job and how to make money. The NHS, right, we're going to keep it and we're going to maintain its funding, because the NHS, contrary to what some people believe, does not take 4 hours to get an ambulance to somebody. You know, I think it's as great as it is. People are hurt, go in there, they get fixed up. People aren't hurt, go in there, realise they're not hurt, and then come out again. It's a perfectly well-functioning system.
We'll be able to increase the income into our national economy with the same level of government expenditure. So we'll have more money in the economy, therefore fixing it. We'll also be encouraging foreign investment into British industry. For example, we'll lower tuition fees so more people can go to university and get a better job, cutting it from £9 grand to £6 grand a year, so they're then earning more money when they eventually get out of university. We'll also raise the minimum wage so it meets the living wage, so that everyone can survive without having to go to a food bank. We'll raise the minimum wage to the living standards so that everyone has enough money. We'll also abolish 0-hour contracts, so people are on a contract without working any hours a week, therefore getting no money, where they can't then claim job seekers allowance because they technically have a job. We'll also create more apprenticeships, especially in the technology industry, for people who are less academically minded, so more suited to practical work in